What's up, guys? Aaron J. Daigle to share a little bit on a topic called burning now or burned up later. To understand this, we need to see something from the lives of Judas and Peter. And basically, Judas forgot to like the video, subscribe, and turn on the notifications bell. Peter did all three of those, and so God blessed him, and he was a really good guy. Well, that's not exactly what we need to see from their lives, but if you would do that, it would be so much appreciated on the channel. What we do need to see is that both of them were really close to Jesus. They were in his group of his 12 closest friends. And Judas focused a whole lot on the world around him and not a whole lot on Christ and the things of God in ministry. Therefore, the little bit of work that he did do for God didn't last. He did not have any sort of positive impact on the world around him. Peter, on the other hand, had the opposite ratio. He focused a whole lot on Christ and on ministry and on the things of God and just a little bit on the things around him in this world that are natural, temporal things that we need to focus on. However, unlike Judas, Peter had a massive impact on the world. He preached the first message that was ever preached in Acts chapter 2, and that birthed the church for the very first time. So much focus on things that matter resulted in a huge impact through his life. Now, with these two guys in mind, I want to look at something from 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10. It says, "But the day of the Lord will come as unexpectedly as a thief. Then the heavens will pass away with a terrible noise, and the very elements themselves will disappear in fire, and the earth and everything on it will be found to deserve judgment." In other words, everything around us on this material world, everything that we own, our houses and our stuff inside of our houses and the earth itself is going to burn up eventually one day. So with that in mind, let's look back at Judas and Peter real fast. Judas lived for temporal things, particularly money in his case, whereas Peter focused on what was eternal. On that day when the entire world burns up and goes away, is what Judas did important or is what Peter did important? Well, Peter, when he was alive, decided to be burning now with passion for the things that mattered, for the things of God. Whereas Judas, instead of burning now with his life for things that really were important, decided to focus on something that was temporal, which in the end is going to get burned up later. So how does all that apply to us? Well, you and I can be burning now with passion for the things of God, getting closer to him, having an impact in this world for something that matters for Christ that is going to have eternal consequences. Or we can live focused on such temporal things and constantly be focused on stuff that is so irrelevant that in the end of it all, it's going to get burned up later. So what kind of things get burned up later? Well, it's not always bad things. I'm not just talking about sins and vices. I'm talking also about school achievements, career achievements. It can be entertainment or hobbies that become a lifestyle. None of these things are bad in and of themselves, and we need a lot of them in life, but a life given over to these things is what I'm proposing as being a bad way to live. On the other hand, what does burning now mean? Does it mean that we just sit around like monks and just meditate on the scriptures all day, or that we just do ministry and nothing else with our lives? That is not what I'm suggesting either. All of us have to take care of the children and go grocery shopping and pay the bills. I get that, but predominantly, where is our heart focused? Are we burning now with passion for what really matters that's going to have an impact, or are we living our lives day to day mindlessly doing things that are just going to get burned up later? Now, what giving ourselves over to something of eternal purpose means for each and every one of us is different. When I was a teenager and I knew God was calling me, I would go to church and throughout the day and get into the prayer room by myself with my Bible and seek God and just pray. I did everything I could to get around ministers and pastors and figure out how to do ministry and how they were living their lives. I would fast and seek the face of God. And I understand that that's not for everyone. And that's what God called me to do, is give my life over to ministry. So that's what giving myself over to the purpose of God looked like for me at that season of my life. You have to identify what it is God is calling you to and be willing to put in the sacrifice and put in the time and the energy and the effort into centering your life around that particular purpose and around that calling. So what is it that God is calling you to do? Is it to take care of a loved one or give financial aid to someone in need? Is it to start your own podcast or cut your neighbor's grass for a month when they're not able to do it? Whatever it is, the more important question is, what are you going to do about it? In the Bible, there was a prophet by the name of Elijah who had a particular piece of clothing that represented him as a prophet. And one day he took that off and put it on a little boy whose name was Elisha. And when that anointing hit Elisha, he took off running after Elijah and followed him and did everything he could to learn from him and grow from Elijah's ministry. Why? Because he realized that God was calling him to that, and so he gave his life over to that. He was burning now with a passion for whatever it was that God was putting in his life. My goal here is to encourage you to start burning with passion for what it is God called you to, because you have a choice. You can be burning now, or whatever you give your life over to will just get burned up later. So thank you so much for watching. I'd love to give you even more value through the books I've published, so I've linked them down in the description below. You can click the link and grab the one that would be the best fit for you at this season of your life. And be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications bell if you haven't done so already to stay updated with all the new uploads. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video together.